Hello, I'm Jeffrey Mishlove, and today my topic is the Fool and the Magician. Now, this is really something of a follow-on to yesterday's InPresence segment on the wisdom of nonsense, because the fool is a character who in some ways embodies nonsense. And I'm inspired here by the two tarot cards. The Fool is the very first card of the tarot arcanum, meaning the cards of higher, you might even say magical significance. The Fool is the beginning of wisdom, entering into a space of trusting, naivety. The Zen people call it the beginner's mind. In the Course in Miracles, the very first lesson is that nothing I see has any meaning. There's no intrinsic meaning to anything except for the meaning that we give it. And that meaning often gets us into trouble. That's one of the points of the Course in Miracles. If we can enter into this state that another great mystical text calls it the Cloud of Unknowing. That's a medieval Christian mystical text. Enter into a cloud of unknowing. Enter into a state where you're willing to consider the possibility that many of the truths, maybe every, but let's say many, you have to sort them out, but everything you know is wrong, as Monty Python once had an album they came out with that title. Everything you know is wrong. Nothing you see around you has any meaning. All of the cherished beliefs of your past are now being called into question. Well, some people would call that a state of absolute foolishness, like you're entering into the naivety of an infant. A baby. You should know better than that. You're an adult now. And yet, because I believe that the arcanum of the tarot deck really express a sequence of progress through which the soul can move, the second card in the tarot deck, card number 1, because the Fool is card number 0, the second card is the Magician. And now, the magician can be thought of in different ways as well, an illusionist, or perhaps a person who embodies real, one might say hermetic, psychokinetic, magical powers, real magical powers, or perhaps fake. And of course, the same thing with the Fool. The card cuts both ways. It can be entering into a state of mystical unknowing, breaking through the crust of conventional conditioning, or it can represent a kind of arrogant naivety. And the Fool in some tarot cards is shown as just about to step off a cliff. Well, is that good or bad? It's like trusting the universe to support you, but will the universe respond? And that's, I guess, where the magic card, the card of the Magician, comes in. I am reminded when I think of that card of the time in 1986 when I took the training program offered by Ted Owens, the PK man. Now, to be fair, I had been studying Ted Owens for 10 years at that point. And I had also had, as described in an earlier InPresence segment on working with psychics, other psychics had been encouraging me to start a TV show. Carol Ann Dreyer brought me to Los Angeles and showed me how she did her own cable TV show, and then told me, now you go up to San Francisco and do just this, and I predict it'll be successful beyond your wildest imaginations. So I was primed. Nevertheless, I was about to embark in Ted Owens' training program. It was very intense, involved 3 days solid in hypnotic trance, with Ted Owens giving me all sorts of suggestions about getting in touch with the power of nature, getting in touch with the super conscious mind within myself, being in touch really with deities and entities associated with UFOs, powerful beings who could help me accomplish what I wanted. And Ted Owens, as I knew by then, had quite a track record of performing large-scale psychokinetic events. And he asked me, what would you do with this power? You're going to gain psychokinetic powers from this training. How do you want to use them? And I thought about it, and I realized I didn't want to call forth UFOs or affect the weather or produce demonstrations on demand as Ted Owens was doing. In fact, I thought his life was pretty miserable. But as I thought, and I got in touch with my own entelechy, that's a phrase I learned from one of my mentors, Gene Houston, a kind of purpose guiding my life. I was able to get in touch with that. And I said, what I really want to do is become a channel to convey, to communicate, a channel of communication to express the teachings of the esoteric psychic world to the mainstream public. That is my purpose. That's what, if I have access to psychokinetic powers, let them help me fulfill my purpose in that way. And within a few months, I set up the original Thinking Aloud TV series, and within another 2 years, it got out on the satellite and was carried by about 100 public television stations across North America. And the work I'm doing right now on this YouTube channel is really a continuation of that same impulse, because I got in touch with what was true for me. So now, what does this mean for you? Because if you're following these InPresence monologues, you know that we're taking you through a process here. There's been a lot of processing since the very first video, and if you haven't gone back and watched the first 3 in a while, I would recommend that you do that. They're crucial to what I'm getting at here, because if you follow this sequence, you're exposing yourself bit by bit to a kind of spiral of information. And lately that information has been about an appreciation of nonsense, an appreciation of foolishness, of letting yourself enter into the kind of foolish naivety, what we might call in Zen, beginner's mind, which is also associated, I should say, with beginner's luck. And what will come out of that in some small way for each of you will be, you'll get in touch with some of your own magical powers. You could call it psychokinetic ability. You could call it simply the ability to manifest. But what you need to be thinking about is, how can you best use that ability, which may come to you in a small way or perhaps even a large way, depending on how primed you are. What would you use it for? Maybe simply to be a better wife, a better parent, a better husband, a better brother or child to your parents, a better colleague for the people you work with, or it might be something else. It might be the power to shift your life in a major way, depending on your circumstances. So give that some thought now. If a little bit of magic were to come into your life, how would you best like to use it? I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for being with me.